All right, it is day 17 of learning Japanese with AI, and yesterday I learned a really big lesson about ChatGPT and learning Japanese through AI in general. I've been doing it wrong this whole time is basically what I learned. Because I feel like, let's just go to the desktop so you guys can see. I feel like based on yesterday's lesson or day with learning through ChatGPT, thanks to my native source, I was able to know whether or not ChatGPT was responding naturally and what mistakes it sometimes makes, what are its tendencies. So it's like a native Japanese speaker who's helping me out with those things. And I feel like thanks to that, I'm able to trust it more, and I'm able to actually think of better ways to utilize it, because so far I've just kind of been using it to break down kanji radicals, but WaniKani already does that, so we don't need ChatGPT to do that for us. I suppose ChatGPT at least tells us the meaning of some of the radicals versus WaniKani, where the whole point is to just remember how the radical looks like, with sometimes the meaning added on it. So that's the difference that ChatGPT has, but it can make mistakes. So in my personal opinion, it's not that useful for studying kanji itself. Like, there are many other better ways for kanji. And then for grammar, we have been using Boon Pro, and honestly, Boon Pro is like enough in my opinion. Like, I don't need anything more. And that's basically what I've been doing for the past few days, is just using ChatGPT to help me with those things. And it's not the best way to use it, is what I'm trying to say. What I believe ChatGPT excels at is actually, in its name, the whole chatting part, the whole like creating dialogue and being a chatbot, and showing you what natural Japanese, or at least what conversations you might come across, might look like and might be. In my opinion, and I'm sure this is not an original thought whatsoever, this is like a logical thing, right? In my opinion, language is very often just copy, right? When we're kids, when we're just learning a language from brand new, from scratch, we tend to copy what other people are saying. And sometimes we copy things without even knowing the meaning of it. And I think that's what leads me to believe, like, if you were to use ChatGPT to just like give you a list of like very common phrases, very common ways of talking and things that you would say in most conversations, and just like repeat that over and over again until you like master it and can say it naturally. And yeah, it's sort of like that Pimsleur thing where I actually went through all levels of Pimsleur, level 1 through 4. Let's go back to this view real quick, just because I'm just talking to the camera. So like Pimsleur level 1 through 4, there's actually level 5. I did not touch that, because even though I learned Pimsleur 1 through 4, I went to Japan sort of like using some of those phrases, and my native friends that I made would be like, nobody says that, nobody uses that in real speech. And I'm like, what? Like, what's the point of this audiobook if it just teaches you stuff that nobody says or uses? It's super dated, basically, and it is only used in business occasions. So I guess like if you're a business person who wants to learn Japanese, you go ahead. But for the most part, it doesn't really help you with actually learning how to speak real Japanese. And that's the primary issue I have with that like program, despite the fact that I went through basically 80% of it, 1 through 4 out of 5. So I kind of feel like I didn't necessarily waste my time. I learned vocabulary from it, so at the very least it helped me with that. But that's also why I'm probably, like, one of my personal projects is probably to eventually create like something along the lines of that. Like, there are many programs, it's not just Pimsleur, it's like different audiobook programs that help you with learning Japanese through shadowing, for instance. And I have some plans at the moment of teaming up with some native speakers to perhaps create something like that, just like a shadowing sort of audiobook based around like very common experiences, so that you can practice and actually be confident with saying things. Because like oftentimes whenever I say things the first time, for instance, like, okay, I learned a new grammar point, for instance, and I want to use it, and then I say it, but I'm like, okay, then my native source or one of my other friends tells me, okay, you use that, it's grammatically correct, but nobody says that. I'm like, like, it feels good to actually be grammatically correct, but it's pointless if nobody ever says it? So in my opinion, it's just better to learn very, very common phrases, sort of like how a kid does, and then you just copy the phrases, and eventually you sort of understand the nuance more and more as you use it, and like when other people use it as well, and you can hear it and sort of like have a back and forth and interaction with those common phrases and see how it diverges basically. And that's sort of like the theory that I have at the moment regarding learning Japanese and how I should actually use ChatGPT. So basically I would use ChatGPT to help me like practice real life scenarios and like common real life scenarios to the point where I can naturally say that Japanese. I naturally understand, at least for those common phrases, what it means, as well as what the grammar is, the vocab, all that stuff. And that is what I feel like, that's what I feel based on yesterday's lesson with my native source and the sort of like epiphany moment that ChatGPT excels at. Like this is how I should be using it. Sorry, that was a very, very poorly structured sentence. Anyways, so from here on, I think what I will do is practice kanji and grammar on my own, not in front of the camera. This whole challenge is based around using AI, and we basically haven't been using AI for kanji and grammar for the past few days, other than yesterday where we were with our native source and just figuring things out right here. And so reading can help as well, but for the time being, because my kanji is so bad, I feel like doing reading stuff is not going to be that effective at the moment. I do feel like perhaps ChatGPT can help with the reading as well. Like when it generates conversations between people that are very common, I will need to learn how to read it. So that's already going to be integrated into the practice. And then the other side of things is like perhaps asking ChatGPT, like, let's actually try it. Can you give me a conversation between two friends that are making dinner plans? Let's actually tell ChatGPT my plans first. Like, I want sort of like an opinion about something real quick. 1 second, just I'll hold that thought and ask main chat actually. I want to know your opinion about the best way to learn a language. I have a theory about how, I'll do this theory part afterwards, and I'll say from scratch. Okay, it says the best way to learn a language from scratch depends on a combination of immersion, consistent practice, and tailored techniques based on individual preferences and learning styles. Immersion, exposure to the language daily. Surround yourself with the language as much as possible, even from day one. This can include listening to music, watching TV shows, podcasts, or movies, and following native speakers on social media. Engage with native content, reading materials, listening to native speakers, and using apps or media in target language can speed up your comprehension. You don't have to understand everything at first, but the exposure will help you become more familiar with the sound and structure. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's, again, how like a kid learns things, is they're just put into a world where everyone is speaking this similar pattern of sounds. So this is definitely one that I should try to do more of, I feel. The best I'm doing right now is doing the listening exercises with the podcast, Nihongo Kon Teppei. Very, very good podcast, by the way. I highly recommend it. I am enjoying it. I'm on episode like 106, I think. And I looked at how many there are right now, and he's still making them. So it's like 1,000 or so episodes. And I'm like, man, am I ever going to catch up? But I'm listening to a good amount daily. I don't feel like it's enough, to be honest. I feel like I should listen more and probably get some other resources going on as well. Listening, I think, is a really, really big thing, because that's basically all you do as a super little kid, right? Is you just constantly listen until you can start copying. And then start with core vocabulary and phrases, learn essential vocabulary, memorize functional phrases. And that is basically what will do when we start asking ChatGPT for phrases from real life situations that happen very often. I'm slurring my words, I'm sorry. Okay. And then learn essential vocabulary. Yes, that is something I kind of do on a daily basis, thanks to the podcast as well as talking with my native source. So I feel like for me personally, learning essential vocabulary will just come naturally the more I keep doing this. Like, I don't know why. I find learning vocabulary to be so boring. I think it's like the number one thing that I just don't want to do. Like I found myself enjoying kanji. I created a whole or one of the days was dedicated or titled that. And then I found I just naturally like learning grammar as well. But like learning vocab, I just can't get behind it. And I don't know why. It's just so much more boring to me compared to everything else. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Anyways, okay. Focus on pronunciation early. Master basic sounds and pronunciation. Developing good pronunciation early on will help you be understood by native speakers and prevent bad habits from forming. That's a good one. I will do better with my shadowing. Really pay attention. It helps that I have a lot of voiceover experience. I do voiceovers for my freelance work as one of my freelance works on Fiverr. I'm a level 2 seller, which I'm very happy about. It's really fun, but it helps me with voice control and also like tones and all that stuff. So slight advantage, I guess. I'm glad about it. Okay. Build a strong grammar foundation. Focus on foundational grammar. Start practicing speaking early, even if it's basic sentences. Okay. Use language learning tools. Okay. Practice consistently with real communication. Okay. Find language partners. Practice speaking and listening. Mix input and output. Writing and speaking. Consistency in small daily goals. Grammar in context. Create a balanced learning routine. That's a lot of points to keep track of. I think all of these tips are great. Let's see. The best method combines regular exposure, structured learning, and real-life practice. A mix of immersion, listening to and reading content, formal study, vocab and grammar, and speaking with native speakers will accelerate your learning. Keeping consistent, practicing every day, and actively using the language will help you become proficient faster. Okay. Yeah, I do feel like my practice right now is sorely lacking, my daily practice. I mean, I've only done it for 16 days. So I'm not going to be like a master at it after 16 days, but I do feel like I could definitely optimize my practice a bit more, and I really do like optimizing things. So I feel like what I'm going to do now is the plan that I just mentioned. Let's actually get to it. Why did it disappear? No. Okay. We were about to ask ChatGPT to help us with basically daily conversation stuff. We want to become a master at daily conversation with Japanese natives. Please help me get there by generating a natural conversation between friends. Let's try a scenario where friends want to make dinner plans with each other. So for now, I will basically be the input for ChatGPT in terms of like what scenario I want to practice for that day. I think it would be a good idea to also like randomize it as well. Maybe like I'm missing certain things to let ChatGPT sort of generate it for me. But I kind of feel like it's more fun when I generate it specifically for what I want. And based on what happens from here, I will practice the kanji that I learn in this conversation. I will practice the grammar points in this conversation. I will practice the vocab in this conversation. So let's try it. All right. It's generating quite a bit, so which is good because I prefer it to be like a lengthy, real conversation that might happen versus like, hey, you want to eat dinner? And then the person's like, yes, where? And then you name the place and then it's like, oh, Soshio, and then you're good. So let's not, that's not what it is. So I'm really glad about that. Right now, ChatGPT is primarily just doing speaking in Japanese, and there are familiar kanji that were from yesterday as well, but I can't read it fully. So again, we will work on the kanji that we cannot read by sticking it in the kanji tab and at least defining it, and maybe also writing it down a few times as well. But this whole dialogue right here looks like it would take quite a long time to fully like do every single piece of kanji, which is unfortunate, but I feel like that's kind of what we would have to do. It's not unfortunate. It's a good thing. It's a like good practice for sure. So yeah, dang. The one thing I really wish ChatGPT could do is like actually do the audio. Like that would be so nice. Let's try it one more time. The last time we did it, it sounded really bad, but like maybe it'll be better.
もちろん、友達同士で夕食の予定を立てる自然な会話を作しました。どうぞご覧ください。ねえ、今度一緒に夕飯。
No,
Hey, wanna grab dinner together sometime?
I don't think this.
いいね。いつが都合いい? Sound are you free? 今週の金曜とかどう? How about this Friday? 金曜か。ちょっと予定が入ってるんだよね。 他の日はどう?
Yeah, I don't like it. It doesn't sound natural to me. Like, it's not terrible, but it doesn't sound like a native speaker to me. And I want to try my best to match like a native speaker. Like, I want to get to that level. So continuously listening to that is going to be bad. So what I should do is try to find like a way to input this into some other software or some other website that can read it naturally for me. That way I can actually match the intonations. I can practice actually saying it as well. So it's like using this as well as something else. So ChatGPT plus something else. That would be the ideal scenario. And I know for today, I'm kind of like doing less practice and more like planning, but I do think like having a good plan, forming a good structure of how to practice is worth the time if the future practices are going to just be like that much more like better and I'm going to learn that much faster. So that's why I'm okay with like this being more of like a planning day versus a real practice day, because I think this sticks to the spirit of the challenge way more than my previous practice days, to be honest. So yeah, let's see. Let's ask ChatGPT on the main chat. Is there a really good resource out there that takes input from Japanese and reads it out loud in a very natural way? If ChatGPT can't tell me, I will just Google it. Yes, there are several excellent resources that can read Japanese text out loud in a natural and fluent way. Here are a few of the best options. Google Translate, of course. That was one of the things I was thinking of. So let's see if Google Translate can do the job. Don't want to read the next few lines until the annoying part here is that there's English down there as well. Let's get rid of the English. Can we get rid of the English for now? This way, I actually have to like try my best to know what the heck is going on without the English, because I do feel like the English is like an added, it's like a cheat code, so I don't want to use that. Let's see what happens if I just dump this here.
ねえと一緒行かない ?B、いいね。いつが都合 ?A、今週の金曜とかどう ?B、金曜か。
The
ちょっと
intonations
予
are
定
off.
が入ってるんだよね。他の日はどう ?A、
Some of it is
じゃあ
good.
土曜の夜は ?B、土曜なら大丈夫。何食べに行く ?A、焼肉とかどう久しぶりに会いなと思って。B、いいね。焼肉どこのお店にする
It actually sounds pretty
駅
good.
前の
Like
〇
to my
〇
ears.
でお店知ってる美味しいって聞いたんだよね。B、ああ、知ってる知ってる。評判いいよね。そこにしようか。A、じゃあ、6時くらいに集合でどう ?B、OK 楽しみだね。A、うん、楽しみにしてる。じゃあまた連絡するね。B、はい、またね。
Yeah, it's not terrible. Obviously, it's doing it in a robotic voice, which is unfortunate. I really wish it could translate by voice. No, that's not. I really wish it sounded more like a real person instead of like a robot. But the intonations sound like what I might hear from like a native speaker. It's just like with a robot voice instead. So it's not terrible. It might be usable, but like I really wish they had something even better. So let's keep looking. Okay, so number 2, it's a premium feature. I think I'm going to dismiss that. Maybe if nothing else is good, I'll take a look at it. Yomi-chan plus Anki with audio plugins. Yomi-chan is a browser extension for reading Japanese websites, and you can use it with a combination with Anki for vocab flashcards. Yomi-chan has the ability to pull up natural sounding audio for many words you look up. Okay, well, I need full sentences. So not that one. Forvo. Japanese pronunciation database, where native speakers upload audio clips of them saying words in their language, including Japanese. You can search for Japanese words or phrases and listen to real native speakers. It is helpful for hearing how different speakers naturally pronounce specific words or phrases. Interesting. Okay, let's look this up. Forvo, the pronunciation dictionary. Sign up. Let's just stick this in here real quick. And then do Japanese to English, I guess. They only do it for words. Or is there a function right here? Pronounce? Okay, it's taking a really long time to... Okay, that's better. It looks like they just have like set phrases right here. And you kind of need to sign up first. Okay, is this like a paid thing? Just out of curiosity. It looks free. Yeah, maybe I'll look into this later, but I don't want to sign up right now. NHK News Easy with audio. Provide simple news articles for Japanese learners. No. Native speaker tutors. Okay, no. VoiceRoid, Japanese text-to-speech software. Okay. It's a paid tool. And then it says but. That's clearly a mistake right here. It's a paid tool, but. Interesting. Is it like Vocaloid stuff? Interesting. Is this the main site? It looks like it's probably going to be a dead end. It's a paid tool anyways, so. Natural sounding Japanese text to voice. Okay, there seems to be a couple things right here. What does it say? No. Okay, so there's this right here, so let's go ahead and try it.
今度一緒に言う行かない。これはデモです。
It's a demo. It sounds kind of weird to me. Okay.
ねえ、今度一緒に夕飯行かない？これはデモです。
It's not bad, but I'm assuming this is going to be a paid thing. I wonder if I can just stick this whole conversation in here. Let's just try half of it real quick.
これはデモです。A、ねえ、今度一緒に夕飯行かない？ B、いいね。いつが都合いい？ A、今週の金曜とかどう？ B、金曜か。ちょっと予定が入ってるんだよね。他の日はどう？ A、じゃあ、土曜の夜。B、土曜なら大丈夫。何食べに行く？ A、焼肉とかどう？久しぶりに行きたいなと思って。B、いいね。焼肉食べたい。どこのお店にする？ A、駅前の00。美味しいって聞いたんだよね。B、ああ、知ってる知って。
I guess you can sort of, like if you just keep doing this, it's kind of like a hassle though. It would be nice to just stick the whole thing in there and yeah. But it seems like there are some, I honestly still think that it sounds kind of strange and canny. Like this is probably a wild goose chase. So I think I'm just gonna no longer chase the goose. So it's fine. I don't have to like hear it out loud and I don't have to speak necessarily yet. Actually, no, I feel like I should. I feel like speaking makes a whole lot of sense, but then I'd be saying it in a way that's like not quite like fluent, and I really want to be able to practice it and say it in a way that's fluent. So the only way I can think of to do that, because the chatbots are a little uncanny a little bit, I don't know why I said a little twice, but it's basically to just practice this with like native speakers, like just actually practicing it with native speakers, like for real, and hearing them talk or say it. And I mean, luckily I can probably do that. It might annoy my native source a little if I ask her to read something out loud for me every day, but it's better than like hearing weird chatbots, like not chatbots, but weird like speech generator bots, I guess, voice bots tell me how it's said. So yeah, I don't know. It's not a perfect system at all. If you guys happen to know a really good one out there that's like free and can for the most part do what I want, like, you know, please let me know. But I think for the time being, my plan will be to do my best with reading it, do my best with understanding it, and then just like taking it to my native source and asking her to read it out loud for me, and then I'll just practice it afterwards with her help, basically. So it is learning through AI with like AI's help, big time for sure, because they are generating the conversation and they're also helping me understand it, explain it, breaking down the kanji as well. Like I'm going to probably take this conversation and just like ask it to break down on the kanji, ask it to break down the whole thing in general and all that stuff. Starting tomorrow, today was definitely just dedicated to planning everything out, having a good structure, and really sticking to the spirit of the challenge, like I said. And I do feel a lot more confident that this will be more or less natural or good enough. There will be mistakes in it for sure that sound maybe not as natural as real speakers, but it's good enough for practice, and I think that is what I was looking for. So, and the fact that I'm gonna the fact that I'm gonna request my native source to read this out loud is gonna help with like verifying what's unnatural and what is good and what I should be learning and stuff like that. So that is the best practice outcome I can think of. That is the fastest way to actually sound natural, to be able to talk in like real life scenarios and use full sentences, recognize patterns, and be able to say it with confidence. Like that is the core of language, in my opinion, is to communicate your ideas and communicate like with other people to be able to do things together and whatnot. obviously it's like the more that it's confined into this like script, right? So I won't be able to like be flexible until I learn more, but it's good enough to the point where I'm sure I can do substitutes with certain words, and I will basically sound like a native speaker if I practice it enough. And that's like the fastest way I can think of to actually sound like a native speaker. You'll just sound like a native speaker with this script, and that's it. but honestly, a part of me doesn't mind that. For these certain situations, I think it would be kind of funny to like just bust out like these phrases in a very fluent way, and then all of a sudden they ask you like a question you have no clue about, and then you just can't answer it because you only know how to stick to this script. I think that would be kind of funny. But yeah, we'll see. This is all a theory in my head right now. All of it is just me being like glad that ChatGPT can produce something natural sounding based on yesterday's thing, and that's like a sample size of like 2 dialogue conversations, so it's not like the best proof, but you know, it's good enough for me to like go all in for the next 13 days and just do this basically. I think it's going to be more fun this way as well, since we are utilizing ChatGPT and it is generating like brand new stuff for me, and we can be a little bit creative with it too by putting in some interesting scenarios. It doesn't have to be like super basic common stuff. Yeah, I think this will be a lot more fun from here on moving forward for this challenge. So I'm very glad that we decided to take it this way and move towards this direction, because honestly it was getting kind of stale just doing kanji and grammar. Okay, that's going to be it for this one. Again, this was a lot of just organizing and structuring practice and not really actually practicing, but I still think it was a good use of time in just like getting things to the point where I feel like I'm going to be learning in a really, really fun and also optimized way moving forward. And if this ends up being like really, really fun, I think I might just like keep doing it past the 30 days. We'll see. All right, gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.